You're listening to Wholesaling Inc., episode 99.
Again, you need to be focused on your highest revenue generating activities, which is talking to sellers, which is belly button to belly button. And some of us, that's more belly than other, but you got to get in front of the sellers and talk to them.
This is game-changing information guaranteed to raise your real estate wholesaling business with actionable steps you can take immediately to navigate the ins and outs of wholesaling and start making money today. Bam! Join us as we put our guests in the hot seat and dive deep to dissect their strategies for success to enable you to duplicate their results. Investor Grit presents Wholesaling Inc., the only show dedicated to making you a fortune in wholesaling with your hosts, Tom Krol and Cody Hofhine.
Woo-wee! Hey, everybody, this is Joe McCall, and you're listening to the Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast.
And Tom Krol with the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. Bam!
Bam! Hey, so we thought we'd do something different and fun today on this podcast. Tom and I are going to record a show and put them on both of our podcasts. And I'm a host and Tom's a host. So this will be fun and different, I think, Tom.
This is super exciting. We have a lot to share with you guys. Joe and I are going to share some information that is working right now for ourselves and for our students. So we're super excited to be go-givers and to just share and give you guys some awesome takeaways. We'll keep this the no fluff, no BS zone, right, Joe? We'll just give them tons of content to use right now.
I love it, man. I love it. So those of you guys on my show that don't know Tom, I've interviewed him several times before. I'd highly recommend you go back to realestateinvestingmastery.com and do a search in the search bar for Krol, Krol, and you'll find 2 or 3 episodes I did with Tom, and they were just fantastic. One of my most popular episodes to date, Tom, I don't know if you know this, was the one where we talked about the best uses of virtual assistants. Do you remember that?
Do I remember? It's one of my favorite episodes. That's all. I listen to my podcast and I listen to any podcast I'm on. That's like my hobby. No, I didn't know that. That's awesome to hear, though. But I do know that if you guys are, if anybody out there is a one-man operation or has acquisition managers, it teaches you a little simple trick on how to get out from behind the CRM and actually go out and get deals. You know, we always say that if you want to find a really good Podio expert, find a poor acquisition manager at a wholesaling company because they know Podio like the best. They can change fields and they can like move things around and create reports. So, so it teaches you how to get out from underneath the CRM and do it. So awesome. That's good to hear.
Well, one of the coolest things about that episode, and I've been practicing and preaching this ever since, was sometimes the best automation you can get is a good virtual assistant.
Yep.
And we all need virtual assistants. I mean, I'm torn sometimes when somebody asks, should I put all my money into marketing or should I get a virtual assistant first? My opinion, I think, is put all of your money and time and effort into just hustling and finding and marketing and finding buyers. Once you do your first deal, find a virtual assistant at that point. What's your opinion on that, Tom?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's automate. Well, first of all, I think a lot of people, they don't understand, people like to use these fancy words like automation and systems. And really the bottom line is automation to me just means if I'm not doing and it's happening without me, and if I'm not doing it, it's automated. So really, to me, systems and automation really is delegation. So that's why VAs are so powerful and can really provide you with freedom because the freedom doesn't come from making money. It comes from the time. And I think that's first of all, number one is most important. You have to have the correct understanding of what automation is. And then, as far as where you should put your money first I think that automation or fooling around with the CRM is sometimes it's kind of like education where when you're doing that kind of stuff, you feel like you're moving forward, but you're not actually making any revenue. So I love the fact that you said hustle because that's the key is you got to get out there and just get a deal. And that is the key with that system that Joe's talking about that we put in place. And that's something I used to do myself when I first started. That's how it came about.
I used to be Podio Joe and people still call me Podio Joe. And I was the guy who kind of introduced Podio to the real estate world in the U.S. Awesome. And that was really cool for a time. And I think it was something that was needed at the time because a lot of the CRMs were expensive and clunky and complicated. And Podio itself is supposed to be, it's designed to be really simple. But what I did and what a lot of people do is they complicate it. They spend way too much time tinkering around. They spend hours and hours trying to get it to save you a couple seconds.
Exactly.
Which is just does not make sense. And Tom, you bring up a real good point. If you want to see an expert podio expert, I'll show you a broke wholesaler.
Right, absolutely, 100%. And that's the key is that, a lot of people say, well, yeah, but Tom, you use podio, so how can you say that? Here is the reality. I used to use High-Rise HQ. I still love, in some ways I do actually still use High-Rise HQ, which is a very simple database. And then when we needed when my team had to automate the business for my house buying business, then we went to Podio. But here's the thing, guys, is that if you said to me, Tom, show me your Podio, I literally would have no idea where to go to show it to you. I have no idea. I've never been in to it, or that's not true. I shouldn't say that because people have logged in for me and then I've looked at it, but I have no idea where it is. I've been in it probably less than 5 times since we've had it. So the key is that a CRM is not meant to be a tool that you use every day. It's supposed to automate processes that are getting done without you. As long as, one thing to think about, always remember, either whether you're a one-man show or you have acquisition managers, you are only making money when either you or your acquisition managers are on the phone with sellers or belly to belly with sellers. And that's it. So don't let that CRM step in between the process. It's first name, last name, email address, property address, mailing address, telephone number, and callback date. That's what you need.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I love the philosophy that you have of there's only should be like 5 or 6 fields in whatever CRM you're using. Right.
Yeah, but these people are taking notes. It's like you'll see an acquisition manager like 6 months of notes on one lady. She said that her son was moving out to college, and then she would sell. And then next month, it's like she said that she is now really seriously thinking about selling.
But that's okay if you want to. If you have a VA to do those notes for you, right? Like,
yeah.
I love, and if you go, guys, you got to go listen to that episode because in there we talk about using something like WhatsApp or Voxer. So again, you need to be focused on your highest revenue generating activities, which is talking to sellers, which is belly button to belly button. And some of us, that's more belly than other, but you got to get in front of the sellers and talk to them. And if you can do this virtually over the phone, but the idea is focusing on your highest revenue generating activities, talking to sellers, making offers, following up. And so when you're talking to sellers, you can chicken scratch your notes. I think, Tom, you and I are in the same boat. When we first got started, we were getting buried in Post-it notes and getting confused with all of our yellow pads of papers and notes. But when you talked about, well, you know what? Just take those notes and send a voice message to the VA and have the VA update the CRM with your note. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so the episode that Joe's referring to will really deep dive this, but essentially you want to be on the road in front of sellers. And just from a 50,000 foot view, Joe, here's the way everybody, if you're listening and if you're somebody who wants to do their first deal or you've been struggling and you are fooling around with the CRM, let me just say this. The bottom line is, and I always use this as an anxiety inducing type of scenario. So Joe, I know you're probably going to know what I'm about to say here, but guys, here's the deal. If someone kidnapped your children or your loved one, and they said, hey, your ransom to get your kids back is you got to go find a discounted property, I guarantee you would not be fooling around with a CRM or Podio. You would just go out, understand it's a numbers game, talk to as many people as possible, and you'd have a deal. Today's Thursday, you'd have a deal by end of day Friday, by tomorrow. I guarantee it. So I think that from a high level is key. But one of the tricks that we used in that scenario that Joe is referring to is we would use WhatsApp. And we get into more detail of this, but essentially the VA would send a task from the CRM, and then we respond via WhatsApp. This way, the acquisition manager or myself would never have to start texting or typing an email back. They would just say, hey, VA 123 Main Street, the one you just sent me, please do this next task. And we really deep dive it in that episode that you're referring to.
Man, when I heard you talk about that was just life-changing for me.
I love it, man. Yeah.
Well, I was knee-deep in creating this Podio product and like helping people create systems and CRMs to, and I realized in my own business and just from students that I saw over and over again, getting stuck and getting deep in the weeds and not spending time doing what was really important. So our advice, I think we would agree, is step away from the computer.
Right.
Step away from the CRM.
Right.
And just focus on, it reminded me when you were talking, Tom, there's this video by a guy named Frank Kern. And somebody asked him in this video, this is like 7 years old or something. And it's not X-rated, it's R-rated because it's got bad language. It doesn't have nudity.
Okay.
It has bad language. But he says, someone asked him, what's your best advice you can give to entrepreneurs? And he said, well, I have 2 commandments. Number 1, and I'll use the clean version of it, stop farting around.
Right.
Number 1. And number 2, stop being a sissy.
Right. Right.
And the point was, just like you said, if somebody told you, and it had Al Gundy, if it was Osama bin Laden when he was alive, if he had a gun pointed at your head and said, I want you, you need to go make 5 offers.
Right.
You would do it. You would figure it out. You would go to YouTube, you'd go to podcasts and figure out how to make an offer. You would find 1,000 videos on YouTube about it. And you would go make the stupid offer.
Well,
right?
Let's be honest here, Joe, right? The reason that people are farting around with Podio is not because they're really interested in Podio. It's because they're avoiding the discomfort of looking like an idiot in front of a seller because they're just selling. They're just starting, right? They don't want to get those uncomfortable muscles. Tony Robbins teaches us that in this life, we don't get what we want. We get what we can't live without. And this is the whole problem with real estate education. And not that real estate education is bad, but putting it in the wrong place. The way education works is you get instruction, you take action, you get a result, and then you learn. That's when the education comes in. But when you're putting Podio or education or anything other than talking with a seller or taking action, what you're really doing is you're just avoiding the discomfort, that awkward conversation, the not knowing what to say. And Joe, I know you agree, is get out there and get a deal as if you have a gun to your head. Or what I like even better is as if someone has a gun to someone else's head, someone you love. This way, you'll definitely do it for. Some people will do it for themselves, some people won't, but everybody will do it for the person they love most, right? So it's I think that's really the bottom line of what we're talking about. Is they just want to avoid. It's just a methodology. It's a tactic that they're using. It's an internal defense that says, I want to delay this uncomfortable action. So I'm going to fool around with how to figure out how to move a Podio field from the right side of the screen to the left, or whatever silliness they're working on.
Oh boy. And the other, that's really good stuff. The other aspect of this is, stop being a sissy. You could go out and people will spend thousands and thousands of dollars on education.
Right.
They get this crack cocaine high
right.
when you buy a new course. And I'm guilty of that. I've probably bought way more courses than you, Tom.
Well, I'm guilty of it too. I'm with you.
But you get this really exciting feeling like you're accomplishing something when you buy a course, when you start going through it. We will spend thousands of dollars on education, but we'll be too scared to spend $1,000 on direct mail.
Right.
Or we'll be too scared to spend $10,000 on a probate marketing campaign or something like that.
I don't know what you mean by that. Right, exactly.
It doesn't make sense. We need to stop being a little sissy.
Absolutely.
And get our big boy pants on. I'm not saying this to you, Tom.
No, I know, but I will tell you this, guys, is that I totally agree with Joe 100%. And if you take my top 100 students, right, Joe, if you line them up and you say, what is a commonality what is a common thread that runs through all of my top students, here's what I'm going to tell you. They get the most results the fastest. They understand there is no success or failure. It's just getting results and then getting more results, and they are going to make it happen or they're going to die trying. I always say, I want you to either send me a testimonial video holding a big check with a big smile, grinning and crying about how happy you are, or I want to go to your funeral because you tried so hard to make it happen. You actually die trying. Here's one thing that's important about education, guys, is like Joe or I or anybody, but a course is not going to get you the deal. You are going to get the deal whether or not you take the course is going to help you get the deal. It's going to help you avoid all the bumps and bruises and black eyes. And it's going to give you a set of instructions that are proven that you can follow. But you're going to get that deal before you get the course, not because of it, because you want it so bad that no one can stop you. If Joe and I stood in your way and locked arms and we said, you're not allowed to go out of the house and get a deal, you'd knock us out and you go and get that deal. That's what it's all about. That's how you get it done.
Man, I love the way you talk about that, Tom. I love your emphasis on that stuff. That's what people need to hear. They need a gentle kick in the pants, to maybe even a little more stronger than gentle, but
yeah.
They need something like that. They need to get pushed. People need to get pushed.
Well, that's why, a lot of people, when they get a course, it's like they want discipline to go through the course and do it perfectly. That's another big mistake people make, is like this. It's better to have an attitude of progress, not perfection. But here's what I can tell you about any course and getting your first deal, especially, this is really targeted to the people, what I'm saying right now, to the people who they want to get in, but they don't know where to start. Here is the deal. Passion will outperform discipline every single time. That's why we want you to insert in your brain a really strong why. Sometimes you'll talk to a struggling student and you'll say, well, what's your why? Why are you doing this? And they'll say some some moral authority why, like, well, I just want to open up a children's hospital. I'm like, what? Yeah, that sounds great, right? But here's the thing. You don't have to be a moral authority. All your why has to do is get your butt out of bed at 4:00 in the morning. That's what your why has to do. That's why we insert that into your brain of, hey, your kids are kidnapped. Your ransom is to go get a deal today. I guarantee you will get a deal. If opening up a free children's hospital in your city or town doesn't get you out of bed at 4:00 in the morning, it sounds great. Like you'll look good in church, but that's not going to be a good why. And you need to have passion about your why to get it done and get that deal and just kill. You got to be like a pit bull. You got to see that steak and you got to be, I'm going to take a bite out of that steak. I don't care if you hit me with a baseball bat. I'm taking a bite out of that steak or I'm going to die trying. That is the key to all of this.
That phrase, you got another Tom Krol phrase there that I love. The passion and what was that again?
Well, that passion outperforms discipline. It's absolutely true every time, especially for the long term. Discipline and willpower are very, very, very small tanks of gas, right? So a perfect example, if people don't understand what I'm talking about, just think about people who try to lose weight. They spend a lot of time with the hope and the education, right? So they are hopeful and then they pick a diet and then they buy all the stuff and then they never stick to it. That's because it's discipline. But if you are single and you really like a girl and you fall in love with her at love at first sight, and you feel like you're too fat, I guarantee you all of a sudden the weight just starts coming off because now it's your driver. You have a passion about it. It's not discipline. Discipline, very, very small tank of gas, very difficult, a lot of self-motivation, a lot of willpower. Passion, passion is endless. Passion will outperform discipline every time. And that's why you got to be really careful about which why you choose, but not try to be like a moral authority with your why, your driver.
It reminds me of that Rhinoceros Success book that you talk about so much.
Oh, my favorite. I'm friends with the author. Can you believe that Scott Alexander is a buddy of mine? Joe, how did this happen? Even you, I'm honored to be calling you a friend. I remember when I first started, I was out on vacation. I think I sent through Todd, my Toback is my stepbrother, and I sent you a picture. I was listening to Joe McCall's podcast when I first started. This is 3 or 4 years ago. And
really?
I don't know if you remember this, but I sent you a text message of me sitting, like all my whole family's in the pool. And I was sitting under the cabana listening to your podcast, taking notes furiously.
No way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. By the way, guys, just so you know, this did happen. Joe doesn't remember it. And just to give you another testament to Joe's memory, and this is absolutely true. Joe and I have met now several times in several different locations. And actually in one place, we actually spent 3 days together sitting next to each other and like going out to dinner and breakfast, lunch every day. Every single time I meet Joe, he says, Tom Krol, it's so good to finally meet you in person. Which is like the funniest thing.
And I wasn't joking either.
Yeah, I was not joking, which is...
I completely forgot.
I'm not that memorable, I guess. Well, listen, I am looking forward to meeting you in person. Joe and I are going to be at the Wholesaling Inc. I know I'm not supposed to ever date these podcasts, but we're going to be at the Wholesaling Inc. Summit, and Joe is one of the speakers. I'm honored to have him, and he's going to be there January 25th, 26th, and 27th, 2018 Wholesaling Inc. Summit. Bam! Love
It's going to be good.
That is going to be epic.
Really good. Where can people go to get more information about
that?
Well,
it's only for tribe members. But if they do want to do that, it would be just go to Wholesaling Inc. wholesalinginc.com. But I don't want to don't worry about that. Let's focus on. I don't want to. This is not a podcast to pitch anybody anything. So let's just talk about. Let's deep dive right now. How do we help people, Joe? Right now, what are we seeing in the market?
I think what we were just saying is super important. Just keeping it simple. And when we were at this mastermind together, and we were hanging out with a bunch of people that do way more deals than I do, that are just, they have these huge monster businesses, right? Like 15 people working for them, doing a lot of deals, right? And sending a couple 100,000 postcards a month type of people, right? And one thing that I noticed as a common theme as everybody was kind of talking was that it's the simple, basic things. They are all really, really good at the basic things, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is something that you're a master of. You have a, what is it? Good at the basics, or what is the
brilliant at the basics?
Yeah.
I was just reading that. It's a book that I wrote. I was just reading that this morning and thinking I need to update this, but I don't even know if I do actually need to update it, because I wrote it about 3 years ago, and maybe I think I need to re-release it, but. Being brilliant at the basics. Don't you love that phrase?
I mean, I love it. And let me say this as far as just give you a pointed response to that. First of all, anybody who's listening, you guys, if you're struggling, or especially not even so much, this is good for the people who want to get started, but this is also, if you're listening and you are a wholesaler or doing lease purchase options or rehabbing or landlord, whatever you're doing, if you find that your business is a roller coaster, right, where you make money and then you're not making any money, and then you make money and you're on this constant roller coaster, that is a symptom of one of the problems, which is not being good at the basics. So these people will normally not be good at the basics. So if you ask them things like, when did their marketing go out last? You'll find out that they're the one responsible for the marketing, and it's not being consistent, right? Consistent. If I want to know how you are going to do today, all I need to know is what you did 90 days ago, and I'll tell you exactly how much money you're going to make today. That's one of the symptoms. The other symptom of people who are on this roller coaster business and not being good at the basics is they find something that works. Let's just say, for instance, wholesaling. They set it up, and then all of a sudden they think they have FOMO, fear of missing out, and then they start to complicate their business and start to have multiple exit strategies. Well, now I'm also a rehabber, and I'm also doing this, and I also do that, and I do seller financing and lease purchase options and short sales and foreclosures and da-da. So what happens is now you become an expert. That will make you some money, but produce a job, have inconsistent results, very difficult to scale, and will produce that roller coaster income. So to Joe's point, if you are wanting to get consistency with your income and you want to have a business that runs without you rather than a job that you create that's very demanding, get back to the basics. I would definitely pick up that book. Joe, where do we?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten the book. I want to read it myself. Where do I find it?
freebasicbook.com. But I'm updating the website. So as we're recording this, don't go there yet, but in about a week, I'll have it up and running. But freebasicbook.com. So one of the things I was thinking about, we were talking about education versus, or you call it instruction over education. Is that what it was?
Yes, absolutely. That's how I learned, and that's how we teach.
I love that, because I had this one student who was a college student. He's a coaching client now. He wasn't originally when I first met him.
Okay.
But anyway, he listens to a bunch of podcasts. He told me a couple of them that were his favorites, and I was talking to him, and he said, I got to tell you something really cool. And I said, okay. He said, I was listening to your podcast and somebody else's, and they said that I should put out bandit signs or something. So he's in a college town, didn't want to do bandit signs. So he started putting ads on Craigslist, like We Buy Houses ads on Craigslist.
Right.
And those just don't work, right? They don't work.
Right.
Well, he does it anyway. Gets a seller that calls him and says, yeah, I'll sell my house. He doesn't know how to negotiate. He doesn't have any kind of script. He can't afford a course. He's a broke college student. So he just stumbles his way through it, gets the property. Well, he doesn't have any contracts, right? So he goes to one of those office supply stores like Office Max or Depot, whatever it is, and buys one of these generic contracts that you can buy for $5. Have you seen these contracts?
Yes. Well, but I know what you're referencing. Yeah, this is amazing. I love it.
He gets it under contract. He tries to negotiate, but he has no idea what he's doing. And so then he goes back through and he looks at a bunch of podcasts like, okay, now what do I do? And one of the podcasts he finds talks about finding buyers. And so he did a couple signs. I think he did a sign in the yard, and he did another Craigslist ad advertising the house or the contract for sale, and makes $15,000 on his first deal with no course. Okay.
Right.
No contracts, no scripts, no magic secret questions.
Right.
Just by massive sheer determination, he figures it out and makes 15 grand.
That's the key. And where was the education? Was it before or after he took the action? It was after. And here is another key takeaway that you're bringing up, Joe, which is so important. One of the other biggest killers of new wholesalers is anticipating. So what happens is they'll play a scenario in their mind where they'll say, okay, well, even if I go and find a motivated seller and I talk to him, the problem is I don't have a contract. So I can't go talk to a motivated seller because I don't have a contract. So now let me go research and find the contract. Here's what you should do instead. Go and talk to the motivated seller. And if you don't have a contract, go to Staples or get a napkin and write on the napkin, okay, my name is Sally Smith. I agree to buy your home at $100,000. Please sign here. Bring that to the title company, and the title company is going to say, I'm sorry, you can't use a napkin. Here's the proper contract, and go back. But those are the people who want it. Yeah. Those are the people whose kids are kidnapped. They'll do that. They'll move a mountain. They'll move a mountain, guys. That is the key, is stop using education as a tool to stop getting results. You can get results right now. Don't be anticipatory about step 10 and allow it to prevent you from doing step 1. That is the
key. Man, I see that over and over again. The anticipatory thinking.
Yes.
Worried about what ifs, or yeah, but what if this happens? I call them yeah butters.
Right.
Stop being a yeah butter. And they're worried about steps 7 and 8 before they even start taking actions and doing steps 1 and 2. And I'm constantly driving people back when they bring up these kinds of anticipatory questions.
Absolutely.
What about this? I'm constantly driving them back to, okay, well, how many offers did you make last week?
Right. It's so funny. I have my father-in-law who has like no business doing deals, right? Lives in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. He's been working at the IT department of a hospital for like 180 years. He's like 250 years old, right? No business doing any wholesale deals, is absolutely killing it at wholesaling. He said to me just recently, we took the family to Disney. I said, well, how are you doing? He said, well, I took what you taught me and I just do now. When all these youngins come up to me at the RIA meetings and they want to know how I'm doing all these deals, I always ask them, how many offers did you make this week? And they'll say none. And I'll say, well, if you're not making any offers, you're not. But there you go. Brilliant at the basics. I mean, it's so true, right? Like I'm moving Podio. I'm not making any offers, but I know how to put the mailing address in the Podio and automatically send out an email when they say no. I'm like, oh, that's great.
How many offers are you making a day? I mean, Tom, can you imagine if people if they made it their lifetime goal? Well, okay, not lifetime, but like if they made it their mission, like right now, to talk to 5 sellers a day.
Right.
That's it. Don't buy another course. Don't listen to another podcast. Now, we have courses and we have podcasts and coaching that we sell, but this is the truth. So, there is a place for that, okay?
Absolutely.
But like, there's a place for that. We're not saying, anyway, if you just talk to 5 sellers a day for 3 months, do you think they might do a deal?
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm telling you, man, it comes to, and the other thing too, that I will tell you, since we're kind of helping people who are getting into this or just starting or might be struggling, the other thing about not only anticipation and being anticipatory, which is a huge mistake, right? Not worrying about the hurdle that's down the block, but let's just get over the one or under it or around it that's in front of you, is assumption. I heard this once before, I think in a movie line, that somebody said, assumption is the mother of all mistakes. And this is another major problem because new wholesalers, especially, are trying to find ways around things that they think the seller's going to do. Like, well, why didn't you give the price? Well, because I thought that if the seller knew that I wanted it for so low, they were going to be offended. So you assumed. right? Like, why didn't you, why didn't you tell the cash buyer that you were doing an assignment? Well, I assumed that so what happens is they spend all of their time, right? Like, why didn't you tell the seller that you were going to assign the contract? Well, because I thought if the seller knew that they weren't going to want to, sell me the house. Assumption is the mother of every mistake. Here's the best thing about it. This is something I learned from Todd Toback. Be a truth teller and a truth seeker. Don't assume anything. The sellers want to sell. They want to sell fast. And this is another really, really, really important point. Whenever you have to understand, you're never going to convince anybody to sell their home for pennies on the dollar. So you want to be a deal finder, not a deal maker, right? You don't want to be a deal creator. People either are going to sell their home for pennies on the dollar or they are not. So stop wasting time with people who are not. And here's how you know. Every single homeowner, if you're listening to this podcast, pull over right now and draw 3 circles on a piece of paper or on your hand right now, because you will understand everything about real estate investing in 3 seconds. Here's the way it works. Every single person in the entire country, when they go to sell their home, they have 2 of the 3 pieces of criteria that they are allowed to have at the sacrifice of the other. It's speed, convenience, and price. Speed, convenience, and price. And you can only have 2 at the sacrifice of the other. So, for instance, if a homeowner wants to sell their home and they want a lot of convenience and they want a very high price, that is going to slow down how fast they are going to sell their home. They're going to sacrifice speed. These are not our sellers. These are people who say, I don't want to do open houses. Don't bring me a buyer unless they're totally vetted and you know that they already have the money, and I only want this price and I'm not going to budge. What's going to happen is the agent is going to take longer to sell that house. Those are not our sellers. Our sellers want speed and convenience, and they are willing to sacrifice price. People aren't stupid. You're not tricking anybody. It's not like they don't know that they're giving you a good deal. So when you take off that burden from your shoulders of trying to assume things and be anticipatory and what is the seller going to think, and instead slap people in the face with honesty. When they ask you a question, just be honest with them. Tell them, yes, this is what I do. I offer speed and convenience. Everything's going to be done for you. I'm going to send you a mobile notary. You don't have to leave your home. I'm going to make it happen immediately. If I can buy this house tomorrow, just tell me where to wire the money. We're going to do it today. I need to make money on this deal. When the seller says, well, are you going to live in this house? No. Is that going to prevent me from buying your house today? Be honest. As soon as you try to start to hide stuff or not want to tell them stuff, that's when you weaken the whole situation. They lose their confidence in you. You ruin the whole process. So be a truth teller, truth seeker, and always remember the 3 pieces of criteria that homeowners have to choose from: speed, convenience, and price. That's it. We're looking for the people who want speed and convenience at the sacrifice of price. They're out there every single day. People are putting them under contract and buying their houses. So just don't waste time with the other people. Just focus on those people. And if you're honest, it helps cut you through all the fat really quick.
That's really good. Being honest, you'll always win.
Absolutely.
Even if it means you don't get the deal, then you'll still win, because that's not a deal you would have wanted to have anyway.
You guys, everybody should hear what Joe just said. It is so profound because he's been in this industry so long. He may not even realize, Joe, what you just said. But you see, what Joe just said was, it's not even a deal. But in the new real estate investor's mind, if you're honest, you might lose the deal. But what Joe and I know, and experienced real estate investors and wholesalers and people in our spot, is you actually are working out of the wrong space. You don't have a deal. So you're spending all this time and energy and focus and attention trying to save a deal, but you don't actually have a deal. You're still in trying to find a deal mode. So when you're like trying to hide and navigate these waters and not sure what to say and what not to say, instead, just take that burden off your shoulders, put your shoulders down, take a deep breath, and be totally honest. And then you'll see if you actually have a deal or not. But Joe, you're 1,000% right. They're spending time trying to save a quote unquote deal. They don't even have a deal. There is no deal. They're talking to somebody who wants a high price. It's never going to happen.
Man, that's so good.
Thanks again for tuning into Wholesaling Inc. This was part 1 of our episode with Joe McCall. Tune in Thursday for the conclusion in part 2.
That's all for this episode. Your next step to success is to continue the conversation over at investorgrid.com by joining the mailing list, as well as get your chance to book a strategy session to learn the systems and become part of the tribe with your hosts, Tom Krol and Cody Hofhine. We'll see you next episode with more ways to make you a fortune in wholesaling.